Warning: the Chaotic Culture Podcast is a program for mature audiences. The language and content presented in this podcast is of a mature nature that some audiences may not find suitable. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Embrace the culture, blaze the doja, grab your loved ones and bring them closer. Extra, extra, read the poster, the KKP is taking over. Sleeping on me, better smell the Folgers. I've been razor sharp since the Motorola. Off for O, like the cover Oprah. Popping bottles, feet all in the sofa. It's a celebration, though the times is hard. It's raining blessings, give it up to God. Chaotic culture, the greatest pod. With Cat the Pro, the one in charge. But it's a celebration, times is hard. It's raining blessings, give it up to God. Chaotic culture, the greatest pod. With Cat the Pro, the one in charge.
We're living in a chaotic culture. 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 Oh, we're living in a chaotic culture. 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 Oh, we're living in a chaotic culture. 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 Oh, we're living in a chaotic culture. We're living in a chaotic culture. We're living in a chaotic culture. We're living in a chaotic culture.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast, the pod where chaos rules and black culture is embraced and elevated. It's going to be a quick bonus episode here as we prepare to do the discography for Lil Wayne. I just wanted to come to you guys, of course, once again, showing my appreciation for all of you who continue to tune into this podcast. Of course, shout out to our anchor subscribers, Dr. Nikayo James, Miss Laverta Kirsch James, and to my boy, hang on a second, because I usually have the list up here, but for whatever reason, I always forget to read it. So, yeah, definitely shout out to y'all. Let me make sure that I have all of my sponsors here, because that's the main thing. We want to be sure that we name everybody on this pod. To my boy Malcolm Jackson, there we go, who also known as MJ3 from Blaname. So shout out to y'all. I appreciate y'all tuning in and supporting this podcast. For those of you who are still listening and would like to be a sponsor and a supporter of this podcast, be sure that you go to patreon.com/chaotic culture pod, and you can join at any of the 4 levels listed. So with that, you already know who it is. It's your boy Ked the Pro, the founder, creator, and 1/3 of the host of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. As with every bonus episode, I'm not going to do the official intro of mine. I am just going to try and get straight to the point of things. This week, we don't have much to talk about other than a few things that have been happening within the culture. And, of course, a few things that have been happening in our government, obviously. But the main reason why I wanted to come, of course, was to, talk about Christmas. Because, Christmas is coming up. And I hope that everybody is getting a chance to spend time with their family. And of course, everybody gets a chance to share gifts and so on and so forth. That being said, this season has been kind of, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's been kind of a down season, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it's just the fact that maybe I don't know. As you get older, I know sometimes you get out of the Christmas spirit. But that being said, Christmas is still my favorite holiday. So I'm not exactly sure why this year has been kind of meh. But that being said, I think there's a few reasons for me why the Christmas season itself has just been not the same. This will be the first Christmas season without either of my grandfathers. For those who know, of course, my grandfather passed away this past August. And so not having him around and not going down to see him during the Christmas holidays, it's really weird. It is really weird, you know. And I know everybody has a season, and my grandfather will have been 98 today. Now that you're hearing this episode, of course, this will be Wednesday, December 15th, and yes, my grandfather would have been 98 today. It's just really going to be a different kind of Christmas because usually I'm either around him and grandma and all the other family, or just around my you know, the basic family. I don't want to go call them basic family, but no, I'm usually around everybody that are like in my immediate family. Man, I'm stuttering today, but yeah, I'm usually around everybody in my immediate family. That being said, my mom and my brother are making plans to come up here to Virginia for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Unfortunately, my brother has to work the week after, and so do I. And my mom has a couple of weeks off, so hopefully we get a chance to, send her somewhere nice. Hopefully. But still, it's just going to be a really weird Christmas. I was able to get my niece her present. Hopefully her mom gets that in time in order to wrap it up. And my niece is growing. Oh, my God, my niece is growing so much. She's 8 years old right now, and like, all I want to do is spoil her. At the same time, I know when she gets older, she's probably going to run my pockets. And I'm going to probably say yes every single time. So, to my niece, Brooke, I love you. To my sister, Calandra, and her husband, Terrence. And to my nephew, TJ, I love y'all. I know that y'all really don't listen to this podcast like that, but I'm definitely going to make sure that y'all do. So that way you hear this shout out. Anyway. Yeah. So this Christmas is definitely going to be different. I will say that I had a very important conversation with my dad about a couple of days ago. And it made me realize a few things. One in particular is that what I have, not to say that I haven't taken the steps to becoming something extraordinary. It just seems that I've fallen into this quote unquote ordinary kind of lifestyle. And frankly, I'm not ordinary. I believe myself to be extraordinary. And me and Pop talked about this, and he said, man, once upon a time, you were absolutely extraordinary. I don't see why you continue to limit yourself, man. You can do anything that you want to do with your brain and with your smarts. You should be able to go out and achieve all the things you set out to do. Don't just limit yourself to being ordinary, man. And there are more parts to the conversation, obviously, but I think that is truly an important conversation that needed to be had, because it made me realize that I'm passionate about doing this podcast. Regardless of how many listens I get, I'm going to continue doing this, and I'm going to continue to raise the bar and to continue to strive for greatness by doing this and putting up this platform for everybody. So I think that's really the most important part of that conversation, is just not limiting myself. And I have to stop seeing myself as an ordinary person and realize that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and God made me an extraordinary person. And he's really done that for everybody. Not everybody realizes that, but as you get older, I know we want to fall into this line of, oh, I just want to be a normal adult or things of that nature. You want to grow up and have family and have kids and kind of live the ho-hum adult lifestyle. Some of us, we realize that we don't live in those times anymore, especially with the way some of our student loans are going. A lot of us aren't having families out there. There are some that are, but a lot of us out here are just kind of like, okay, I got to pay back student loans, which did not get canceled. That's a whole other topic I'll get to in a little later. But still, you got bills to pay. You are trying to keep up with the rising cost and inflation, and yet the job wages are not increasing. These jobs are as stingy as ever. They're making record-breaking profits, but not putting money in your pocket. That really says a lot. And I mean, it says a lot. But what do I know? What do I know? I'm just a regular car salesman. I don't know any better, or do I? Still, it's just a lot going on, especially for those of us who are millennials or younger millennials and Gen Z. Hell, even older millennials are going through some of this shit. And I think it is time for us to, realize that we have to go above and beyond what is expected of us and try to find things that are going to make us happy. And that includes fighting off depression, seasonal depression, fighting off debt that some of us are steeped in, having to consistently battle with our mental health, having to consistently stay in good shape for our physical health, and overall just dealing with the negative impacts of social media. And now, of course, Facebook is, well, the company Facebook has changed their name to Meta, and of course they're going to try to utilize a virtual reality called the metaverse. And I don't know about some of y'all, but I know that social media can get very, very toxic. There are reasons why I only really stay on two sites, and that's Twitter and Instagram, just because Instagram, I love seeing my people thrive, and with Twitter, I just love the jokes. But even then, sometimes Twitter can get very toxic because, unfortunately, with me being as political as I am, it just seems like doomsday pundits continuously raining down on us as far as what our government is doing and not doing, and how consistently these people who call themselves Republicans are pretty much trying their damnedest to be sure that we no longer have a democracy. Well, technically, we're a presidential constitutional republic, but even then, it seems that for those who are versed in the government, just know that a republic is a form of democracy. And at this stage, the way that Republicans are going, they don't care if we have an autocracy or a dictatorship as long as it's their guy, i.e. the former guy or somebody like him. And yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. For those of you who are considered quote-unquote conservative, just know that the Republican Party has not been conservative in years. Years. They'll say that they're like conservative on social spending and things like that, but then spend billions, and I mean billions, on military and other things. So, truth be told, they're not conservative at all. Now, if you want to go the route of morally conservative, then that's one thing. But yeah. And speaking of which, of course, the Supreme Court allowed the Texas law SB 8 to go into law, and yeah, they're right now discussing the Mississippi abortion case, and this is just so frustrating. Especially, I know, to my women out there who are in the South who are struggling. Granted, people are not having abortions like that. They really aren't. But to continually attack abortion rights, knowing good and damn well people of color are going to be the most impacted through this, is nothing short of systemic. I mean, what else did you expect me to say? What else did you expect? But these people continuously try to find ways to make the lives of black and brown people miserable. And it is still so baffling. But now we got these originalists in the Supreme Court who are willing to defy everything just so that people can go back to having, states' rights to do this. Man, my thing with states' rights is that that's how we ended up in the Civil War. That's how we ended up with the Civil Rights Movement. because of quote unquote states' rights, or white supremacy masked as states' rights. It seems like nobody really wants to have, or at least the quote unquote people who thrive from this kind of system, they don't want to have federal oversight or federal government control anything. They want the states to be able to govern themselves. There is a reason that the Articles of Confederation and the Confederate States of America did not work. And yet you still got these people who will try their damnedest to be sure that white supremacy thrives under states' rights, or states' rights thrives under white supremacy, depending on how you look at it. And still, are we going to go back to those times where, because of states' rights, the states have the right to do whatever they want with their people? Matter of fact, if that's the case, it's like automatically sending black people back to the fields. I'm really frightened, especially with SB8 passing. Now, I will say shout out to California for doing this. For those who don't know, Governor Gavin Newsom, he kind of did a law that was based off of the Texas abortion law, except that law targeted gun rights. Now, the key part to this is not so much the right to bear arms, but more so using a bounty system to sue anybody who violates this particular gun rights law, which is the outline and pretty much the skeleton of what the Texas abortion law is. Pretty much, abortions are, they pretty much say that you can't have an abortion after 6 weeks, which most girls don't know that they're pregnant after 6 weeks. But either way, and if they try to get an abortion, pretty much the others have the right to sue them for trying to get an illegal abortion. So this law in California is basically based off that. And what it does, regardless if it's successful or not, it creates a slippery slope for the Supreme Court. Because now they have to weigh the options. It's like, okay, well, how can we say that this is right and okay for Texas, but it's not right or okay for California? It's not like they're saying they can't have guns. They're just certain restrictions. And that's going to create a slippery slope, because now, you're going to get those 2A people and those really, really big Second Amendment supporters who will really get frustrated and mad at this. And I know that they're probably going to sue. And this is probably going to end up at the Supreme Court again. But now it's up to the Supreme Court to decide, well, if what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But if you do that, now you make yourselves look irrelevant. Because part of that law is saying that we can shield our laws from federal oversight. And again, that is the problem. Because if states are allowed to shield their laws from federal oversight, what the hell do you think states are going to do when it comes to the rights of their citizens, especially those who are melanin blessed? You tell me that we aren't about to live in a dystopian society. Man, if Jesus don't call the rapture up soon, I don't know what. But either way, I know a lot of people out there are frustrated with Joe Biden, especially with the whole student loan things. And frankly, I am too. But I say all of that to say, you can be frustrated with Joe Biden, but primary him. Find a Democrat, find somebody who is a progressive who is willing to go to task. Because Republicans are going to do everything in their power to be sure that they get back into power, and then open the door for who to try and come back and become president for a second term in 2024. And if that guy does that shit again, best believe I'm getting the hell up out of America. Best believe that. If y'all knuckleheads let this man become president again, despite how you may feel about Joe Biden, I ain't got nothing to say to you. And Americans especially are known to have short-term memory. It's like y'all forget all the bad ish that happened, and y'all fold quicker than a damn chair when it comes to certain issues and certain politicians. Joe Biden hasn't been president for 1 year, and folk on Twitter already trying to fold. Man, and a lot of people will try to use the inflation portion to blame Joe Biden. Man, look, I get it. But the inflation comes from the COVID backlash that we had this past year. But I could go into economics, but man, I'm not going to waste anybody's time, because if I try to talk to you about it, it's going to go through one ear and out the other. I'm already hip. Y'all don't want to hear that. Y'all don't want to hear me break down how economics actually works. Y'all just want to find a scapegoat to blame. And Joe Biden, who happens to be president, is the perfect scapegoat for that. But either way, there are some things that I sincerely hope get fixed before next year. But I mean, it is what it is. Getting off of politics, we got to talk about a couple of things. One, I forgot to mention not the Ahmaud Arbery case, because I don't want to really call it that, but the people who were accused of killing Ahmaud Arbery, we of course see that they were found guilty. And so now they are going to go to court for the federal hate crime charges. So we'll see how that turns out. Derek Chauvin, the guy who killed George Floyd, looks like he is getting ready to plead guilty to the civil rights charges brought on him. That's actually going to be interesting to see, and we'll see how that plays out. I guess he figured that he cannot plead not guilty, and there was nothing beneficial that was going to come from it. So he's going to give a guilty plea, and we'll see how that goes. I haven't seen, of course, any major killings of unarmed black men. That's not to say that they're still not happening. I just haven't seen any lately that have caught my eye. But of course, if you happen to see or know of a story of an unarmed black male or an unarmed black kid who was gunned down in cold blood, just please, notify me so that way I can go ahead and rant and talk about it. Y'all know how I am. Y'all know how I feel about us. We blackity black over here. So take it how you will, but that's what it is. So anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to talk about, but it's really not much going on for real. At least not in society right now. It just seems like everybody's really just getting ready for Christmas, If you got a chance to watch that Ye and Drake concert, y'all let me know how that went. I definitely did not stay up in time to watch it, and I wasn't going to. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Hopefully, for those who watched, I hope it was good, but apparently Kanye's kind of back to his old ways, and I don't know what Drake was doing during that concert, but either way, y'all just let me know how that went, because I definitely want to talk about it, but I didn't get a chance to watch it, so I don't know shit about that concert that they had, or the Free Larry Hoover concert. So yeah, okay. Spider-Man is definitely going to be coming out this weekend. Now, obviously, on my Twitter account, I got some folk who are threatening to spoil it after they see it Thursday. All I'm going to say is, if I see spoilers from these two people, and they know who they are, we gonna have a come to Jesus moment. Fair warning, do not spoil the movie, because I'm going to see it on Friday. Do not be that person, Cam. I can't really say the same thing for Pat because I know Pat's going to spoil it. That man does not give a damn. He is a menace. So, yeah. Just know, if I see spoilers before I see it on Friday, we gonna sit down and we gonna talk about it. You have been warned. Do not spoil this movie for me. I am a Spider-Man fanatic. I love Spider-Man. That is my favorite Marvel superhero. Might be my favorite hero of all time. The second being Black Panther. Do not spoil this movie. Please. I'm begging you. But anyway, as far as what's been happening in the anime world, the winter season is getting ready to be upon us. So for those who watch the seasonal anime, just be prepared. I don't know when that list is going to drop as far as like what winter anime is coming out. We all know that the final season of Attack on Titan is coming out. Right now, we are in the entertainment district arc of Demon Slayer. Apparently, Bleach is coming back. I don't know. We keep getting news about Bleach coming back. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else in anime that I want you guys to recommend, or I want to recommend to you guys. Goodness, I can't talk today. I will say, if you have Netflix, do yourself a favor and watch Arcane. You do not have to have played League of Legends to keep up with this story. But watch Arcane. Oh my gosh, that is... Boy, that is such a good show. From the animation to the voice acting to the story, the plot itself, the characters. God, it is so good. Do yourself a favor and watch Arcane. Like, you will not regret it. Also watch Super Crooks, especially if you watched Jupiter's Ascending. This is like a spin-off series of that. So definitely watch Super Crooks. I highly recommend that anime. And it is such a good show. For my JoJo's fans, of course, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean dropped. I'm in the middle of watching that now, so there's that. And, of course, there's, like, usual shows that I've been watching as far as The World's Finest Assassin, which is really, really good. Platinum In, I'm going to continue watching it, even though I have some strong opinions about it. I don't hate it, but, yeah. There's that. There's some other shows out there that I definitely want you guys to pick up on. As far as anime and shows, if you have not watched, again, The World's Finest Assassin, the name itself is just really long, but I'm just going to keep it to World's Finest Assassin. I believe the real name is The World's Finest Assassin Gets Reincarnated into Another World as an Aristocrat. So, these isekai names, well, they're getting out of hand, but still, definitely check that out. Definitely check out Jobless Reincarnation. Boy, that anime will put you in the feels. And I love isekai, but there are a lot of isekai that are like either going to be really good or really meh. These two are really, really good. So definitely check out World's Finest Assassin. Definitely check out Jobless Reincarnation. In hip-hop news, of course, Rick Ross just dropped his album, Richer Than I Ever Been. I just finished listening to that. Honestly, it's not bad. It's not Ross's greatest work. I still think Teflon Don is probably his best album. But still, it was a good ride. It was a good listening experience. You know, Ross kind of has found his pocket just like a lot of artists these days. They don't really stray from that. If you're going to ask me what the number one album of this year was, because I usually do kind of like a list of like the top hip-hop albums that of this year, I think King's Disease 2 is probably the best rap album. And then you got Tyler's Call Me If You Get Lost. There's another rap album on there from Little Sims. Sometimes I Might Be Introvert. Definitely check that out. Because the last album that I listened to was Gray Area, and Gray Area was really like that. So definitely check out Little Sims if you have not checked her out. You will love that album. But still, if I had to pick like a number one rap album of this year, it is King's Disease 2, followed up closely with Tyler's album. So yeah, y'all definitely check that out. I know the Grammys are coming up, so we'll be able to see who won what and whatnot. I have a strange suspicion that they're either going to give the Grammy to either Drake or Kanye, and I really don't want them to do that, but I know the Grammys too well. They're going to set us up for disappointment. They always do. Except for when Kendrick drops an album, and they know not to make that mistake ever again. But that's neither here nor there. I think I've rambled on long enough. I'm not going to hold you guys up for too long. The only things that I really want to say, of course, is that for this Christmas season, be a blessing to somebody. No matter who it is, no matter how old or how young, just be a blessing to somebody. Give what you can. It doesn't necessarily have to be a gift. Give an act of service to somebody. Give love to somebody. That's all you really have to do. Don't need to make it complicated, but be a blessing to somebody in this season. You don't know what kind of issues these families have going on, especially with us still being in the middle of a pandemic. Just keep that in mind this Christmas season. But also, stay blessed yourself. Surround yourself with family and friends who love you. Surround yourself with happiness as much as possible. And just know that in the end, we all know who the reason for the season is, for those of us who are Christian. And for those who celebrate the other aspects of Christmas or participate in the other aspects of Christmas. Just again, be mindful of those who have not, and continue to show love to everyone that is around you. Because there are a lot of families out there who won't get a chance to have this Christmas. There's a lot of families out there who don't even really appreciate Christmas. There's going to be some people out there who don't get that opportunity because they have family members who are in the military and that military is deployed. There are going to be people who won't get a chance to spend Christmas with their loved one because their loved one has passed on. There might be some who might be traumatized because Christmas is a traumatic holiday for them for one reason or another. Just be mindful of the people around you. It's going to be our duty to spread love everywhere that we can, especially in this season, especially during these times. So just keep that in mind. And I sincerely hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. If you celebrate Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah to you. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. Happy Kwanzaa for those of us who will be celebrating after Christmas. And for my Christian friends, remember this is the Advent season. And just remember that Jesus is the reason for the season. With that, we got to give our shout outs here. As always, shout out to Blaname Podcast, Worst Generation Podcast, and Mike Check Waifu Waifu. I am an official Patreon subscriber to these three podcasts. For our anime heads, please be sure that you go and check them out. Also, shout out to the Truth and Transparency podcast. Shout out to my boy, Brother X, a.k.a. Brother Malcolm. We will be doing an episode. I promise you. Let me get past this Lil Wayne episode, and then let me get my schedule together, because I got like 2 or 3 interviews lined up, and I want to be sure that we can get this going. So, yeah. Shout out to Analytical with Things Get Critical for Hot Take Tuesdays. I think it's going on right now. I hope I'm not really missing it, but I'm definitely about to hop in and tap into this real quick. But definitely shout out to them. Yep, it's definitely going on. So let me go ahead and join after I finish recording here. And shout out to the other supporters here, to Moody Senpai, to Mama Cam, a.k.a. Cam with the Yams, to Sundari, a.k.a. Erica or Ari. Please be sure that you subscribe to her YouTube channel, Sundari. Shout out to the session whenever you guys decide to come back. To my boys in Relatable versus Debatable. Definitely shout out to y'all. I know y'all have not done an episode since Charvon moved. So with that, y'all, I might get Sappy and Ty back on here. I could definitely use their support and, frankly, make them a part of the crew for real. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's definitely something that's on my brain. So I'll get with y'all about that. I'll shout out, I'll talk to y'all, and we'll see where that goes. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure that I have all the podcasts that I want to shout out. Oh, as always, shout out to Inside the Mind of a Blurred with Scuba Steve and all of them. There's too many of y'all. Y'all know who y'all are. Shout out to Project Manga. Shout out to Anime Lately. Yeah, man. I think I've covered just about everything. I'm definitely about to get back into my my Christmas music, because, again, I'm definitely one of these people who will listen to Christmas music when the season actually approaches. I'm not about to sit here and once again try to listen to some Christmas music before the Christmas season. So there's that. I think I'm good, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this little bonus episode that I'm about to drop. I, again, didn't want to take up too much of your time. So the next episode that you hear after this will hopefully be the Music Roundtable episode, where we dissect Lil Wayne's discography, his albums, not his mixtapes. Again, I'm saving that for an episode down the road. So, yeah, there's that. All right. So let me go ahead and sign off. Be sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Chaotic Culture Podcast. Please be sure that you like and follow our page on Facebook. And then you can follow us on Instagram at Chaotic Culture Pod, and follow us on Twitter at Chaotic_Culture. You can follow me, Kat the Pro, that's K3D the Pro, on all social media. You can follow my co-host Law on Instagram at L.JR_96, and you can follow him on Twitter at Law96_. You can follow Miss Nasa on all social media at _CallMeNasa. Once again, be sure that you subscribe to our Patreon account. That's patreon.com/Chaotic Culture Pod. And please be sure that you subscribe to any of the 4 levels. It does not matter which level you choose. We definitely appreciate your support here. And that is a wrap. Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. Until next time, folks, remember, be blessed, be safe. God is love. Deuces.
Look, it's chaos in these streets, so let's talk about it, please. Let's hold some conversation. You see where I'm coming from. Yes, it's so amazing. Go ahead, get comfortable. You can grab a seat, take a load off your feet. Yeah, welcome to the table. We don't tell no lies over here. This ain't no fable. We just live our lives over here. We ain't no angels. We just shine our light over here. We got the power. We just showing love over here. Cause everybody needs some, yeah. And we don't need a reason. Everybody needs some. And we don't need a reason, cause we're living in a chaotic culture. 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 culture.